Leicester City are currently winless in the Premier League. Steve Cooper has a big job on his hands. This is what I think the fix is. So far in the Premier League this season, Leicester City have done okay. We drew the first game against Tottenham Hotspur in what was a game of two halves. We got absolutely battered and pelted by Tottenham Hotspur in the first half. We managed to mostly limit them to half chances. And in fact, they only had two big chances in the full 90 minutes, which was equal to Leicester City's. So you could probably argue that a draw was a fair result. However, when you move on to the Fulham game, Leicester only created one big chance. The home team Fulham had three big chances in that game. You could say that they deserved to win, and I think it was probably the poorest performance out of the three matches that we've had so far. However, when we look at the Aston Villa match, we see that Leicester City had one big chance compared to Aston Villa's four, which led to 2 goals. Now, all of Leicester City's games so far have been close. We had a 1-1 draw. We had 2 2-1 losses. And some fans, including myself, are relatively happy and probably quite happy with the performances from the team, from what we've seen of the players on the pitch. But why have none of these good performances resulted in 3 points yet? Now, unfortunately, I do feel that the person to blame for this is the manager, Steve Cooper. You see, after the Spurs match, Cooper said that he gave Tottenham too much respect. We sat off them too much. We didn't attack them enough. But we saw the exact same thing against Fulham. And there was no real reaction from the manager until we went 1-0 down. And again, the story is similar in the Aston Villa game. Yes, the performance was good if you use the context that they are a Champions League team this season. But once again, I feel like they were there for the taking. But we just lacked that bite. We lacked creativity. Now, this isn't a Steve Cooper bashing session, and I know that quite a lot of people online think he's getting unfair and unjustified criticism. But in my honest opinion, I don't believe that it's acceptable to start a home game with three defensive-minded midfielders. We had Oliver Skipp, Harry Winks, and Wilfred Ndidi all on the pitch for the Villa game. Now, this was to try and gain some kind of control of the match, which did work to a degree. But once again, there was just not enough creativity. Wilfred Ndidi was basically our number 10. And we all know that he performed well in the Championship last season as one of Enzo's advanced 8s or high 8s. But this is the Premier League. It's a different kettle of fish. We cannot be expecting Wilfred Ndidi to be our main creator, which then takes you on to the question, why did Steve Cooper spend all of pre-season asking for creativity in the transfer market, which led to the signings of Facundo Buonanotte on loan and Bilal El Khanous on a permanent deal? Why did neither of them start the game? Well, the rumour has it that Facundo Buonanotte had a knock, and maybe Cooper didn't want to throw Bilal El Khanous in for his first game, having only trained a couple of times with the club. But I think this is where we lost the game, and I think it's where we've lost a couple of games. Now, an easy solution to this would be to say, play Facundo Buonanotte every game. But personally, I feel like there's more that can be done. Now, this is going to be controversial, and people in the comments may give me a bit of stick. But I think one of the fixes could well be Harry Winks coming out of the team. Now, look, yes, I know. I understand Harry Winks, instrumental last season for us in the Championship. A very good distributor of the ball. But I just don't think it's anything that Bilal El Khanous can't do. And arguably, Bilal El Khanous would actually offer us more defensively than Harry Winks does. Now, I put the feelers out of this on Twitter earlier today, and some of the replies were that it would leave us too open, that we need Harry Winks' defensive capabilities, although I'm not sure what they are. and that we would simply lose control of the midfield. But again, I disagree. Bilal El-Khanous spoke to Owen Palmer-Atkin from Radio Leicester after the Aston Villa match, and he actually explained how he likes to get involved in the defensive side of the games. And these are all backed up by statistics, by percentiles. In fact, after this, if you go back to my video a couple of days ago where I spoke about the signing of Bilal El-Khanous, you'll see that we highlighted these statistics that are outliers for normally a creative midfielder. And again, I'll put one of the screenshots here. He can offer contributions to defending, to tracking back, to aerials. And I truly believe that he could really help us control games whilst also getting into the box. One of those box crashes that we saw under Enzo last season. And I think this is the type of play that Enzo really wanted in the advanced 8 role last season, when we were looking at, for example, Fabio Carvalho and Stefano Sensi. Now, of course, this isn't going to be possible every game. And in fact, some games will require a Wilfred Ndidi, Oliver Skipp, Harry Winks, maybe all three at once. Maybe when we play against a Man City or an Arsenal, maybe we do need to just accept that we need to limit their scoring and look after the goal difference a little bit. But for me, when you look at the likes of Fulham, when you look at the likes of Crystal Palace and Everton coming up, I think you've got to go into these games and attack the game. Now, with how teams press these days, sometimes you do need that double midfield pivot, the two defensive midfielders. And this is where I would like to see Ricardo Pereira come back into the team. Yes, the system so far with Steve Cooper hasn't been awful, but it has meant that not all our best players are able to play. Ricardo Pereira, Steffi Mavididi, they've been vacant from the starting 11s. If we switch back to something more similar to the Enzo system of last year, but with potentially a little bit more of a defensive-minded, twist on it, or a more direct twist, I feel like it allows us then to play our best players. It means maybe James Justin slots in at left centre-back or left-back over Victor Christiansen. It allows Ricardo Pereira to come back into the team and invert into midfield with Oliver Skipp or Wilfred Ndidi if he needs to. And then it gives Abdul Fattah, it gives Steffi Mavididi the freedom to express themselves out wide. And you may well see a Facundo Buonanotte and Bilal El-Khanous double 8 structure in midfield. And that's something that Enzo would have absolutely creamed himself for last season. And I know Enzo's not here. We need to stop talking about him. I understand it. But the fact is, Steve Cooper hasn't swayed away from last season's type of football entirely, which is why I think we should see something more similar to the formation in possession like we did last year. And it allows us to try and be defensively solid, try and have control of certain games, whilst also ensuring our best players like Ricardo Pereira, Steffi Mavididi, Bilal El-Khanous, and Facundo Buonanotte are all able to play in the same team. Now, of course, a lot of you may not agree. A lot of you may disagree. Some of you might agree. But the fact is, Steve Cooper now has 2 weeks, albeit without some of his players on international duty. But he has 2 weeks to try and find a solution which will find a happy medium between having control and being defensively solid, and at least having some kind of creativity in the team. It's all good being in games until late on, being 1-1, 2-1, 2-1, being just a goal or two away from all 3 points. But we can't continue to be just close. We need to get wins. And with the points deduction that will be coming our way later in the season, we need to find wins quick. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or not. Give me stick if you want to. I'd love to hear opposing opinions. Again, this is my opinion on what could be the fix. Let me know yours down below.